Marcus Hale had seen many strange places in his life, but nothing like this. The abandoned alien workshop sat at the edge of a rocky plateau on the far side of the planet Orinthia. Its walls were tall, made of dark metal that seemed to absorb light, and strange symbols were etched across its surface. Rust and alien vines crawled over everything, showing how long it had been left alone. The air smelled of metal and old machinery. Marcus could feel a shiver run down his spine. He had bought the place at an auction, mostly on a whim. Others had said it was cursed. That no one who went inside ever came back the same. Some even said that alien spirits haunted it. Marcus laughed when he heard those stories. He had faced pirates, collapsing tunnels, and storms that could shred a spaceship. A little rumor about ghosts or spirits did not scare him. Marcus stepped through the wide entrance, the metal doors groaning as they opened. Inside, the workshop was bigger than he expected. Huge machines, long since silent, lined the walls. Pipes and wires hung from the ceiling like vines. Broken screens flickered for a second, showing strange symbols he could not understand. He ran his hand along a control panel, feeling the cold metal, and wondered what the workshop had made before it was abandoned. "Looks like no one's been here for 100 years, he said to himself. His voice echoed in the empty hall. He stepped carefully, avoiding broken glass and scraps of metal. The place smelled old, but there was something else too, a faint warmth, soft and almost alive. Marcus frowned. Warmth? In a dead workshop? He followed the feeling, walking deeper into the building. The walls changed. The symbols on the metal glowed faintly under his touch. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the floor and into his boots. Marcus stopped. His heart beat faster. He had explored abandoned ships and crashed alien outposts before, but this was different. This was alive, in a way. Then he saw it. Hidden behind a large, fallen machine, two oval shapes sat in a shallow pool of glowing liquid. Marcus froze. At first, he thought they were rocks. But the shapes moved. Tiny cracks appeared on their smooth, shiny shells. A soft sound came from them, a tiny hiss, almost like a whisper. Marcus knelt down, his eyes wide. He had never seen anything like it. "What, are you?" he whispered. The eggs trembled slightly, as if responding to him. The warmth he felt earlier grew stronger, radiating from the eggs themselves. It was not heat like a fire. It was life. Something very old and very powerful, trying to awaken. He stood up slowly, looking around. The workshop was quiet again, but he could feel eyes on him. Not human eyes. Something watched from the shadows. He shook his head. He had been alone, right? He stepped closer to the eggs. The cracks widened, and for a moment, he saw a flicker of movement inside, a tiny claw, a bright scale. Marcus's breath caught. Dragons. Real dragons. But how? Dragons had been extinct for thousands of years. Scientists believed they had died out long ago, wiped out by humans and aliens alike. Yet here they were, hidden in an abandoned alien workshop on a planet nobody cared about. And they were alive. He crouched closer, careful not to touch them too roughly. The hiss grew louder, almost like they were calling to him. Marcus felt a strange connection, as if the dragons already knew him. He remembered the stories his father had told him as a boy, stories of dragons and humans working together, of creatures that were clever and strong. He had always thought they were just tales, but now, they were real. A sudden noise made him jump. A piece of metal fell from the ceiling, clanging on the floor. The eggs wobbled, but they did not break. Marcus placed his hand over them, trying to calm them. "It's okay," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." The hiss softened. The warmth spread through his fingers, and for the first time in a long time, Marcus felt a true sense of wonder. He looked around the workshop again. Broken machines, strange symbols, and old alien tools, everything suddenly seemed alive with purpose. The eggs were the reason this place had been built. Someone, or something, had left them here. Someone had wanted them to survive. And now, Marcus was the one who had found them. A wave of responsibility hit him. He could not leave the eggs here. He could not sell them. He had to protect them. But already, he felt the weight of what he had discovered. Others would come for the eggs. Aliens might still watch. And the dragons, they would need him in ways he could not imagine. Marcus took a deep breath, his heart racing. He had faced danger before, but this was different. This was life itself, fragile and powerful, trembling in his hands. And he knew one thing for certain, he would not let anything happen to these dragons. Not aliens. Not humans. Not even fate itself. He stepped back, taking one last look at the glowing eggs, and whispered, "You're safe, for now." The hiss turned into a soft, musical sound, almost like a tiny laugh. Marcus smiled, feeling a spark of hope. The adventure had begun. Marcus hardly slept that night. He stayed near the glowing eggs, listening to the soft hisses and occasional scratches from inside. Every now and then, the cracks widened a little more. He could feel the energy radiating from them, a warmth that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. It was alive, and it was waiting for him. By morning, the cracks had grown larger. Marcus's heart pounded as he knelt in front of the eggs. Tiny claws pushed against the shells, and shards of smooth, shimmering material fell to the ground. Then, in a sudden moment that made his breath catch, the first dragon emerged. It was small, no bigger than a house cat, but everything about it seemed powerful. Its scales shimmered with green and gold under the pale sunlight filtering through the workshop windows. Its eyes opened slowly, revealing bright amber orbs that seemed to look straight into Marcus's soul. The dragon tilted its head and let out a soft, melodic hiss, a sound that was almost a song. Marcus froze, unsure whether to reach out. The creature stepped forward, its tiny claws clicking against the metal floor. It moved with caution but also with curiosity. Marcus held his hand out slowly. "It's okay," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." The dragon sniffed the air and then, to Marcus's surprise, leaned gently against his hand. Warmth spread through him as he felt its tiny body vibrate like a living engine. Marcus's heart swelled. He had seen courage before, but nothing like this. Protecting life like this, it felt sacred. A sudden crack made him look up. The second egg shuddered violently. Marcus jumped to its side as the shell split open. A second dragon, slightly smaller but just as radiant, tumbled out. It blinked at him with curious green eyes and let out a softer hiss, almost shy. The two dragons huddled together for a moment, then looked up at Marcus, as if asking him what to do next. Marcus smiled, feeling a strange mix of awe and responsibility. "You're safe," he said, more firmly this time. "I'll protect you. I promise." The dragons chirped softly, almost like they understood. He spent the rest of the morning observing them. They were clever, moving quickly and exploring the workshop, sniffing the machines and peering into shadows. Their scales glowed faintly in the dim light, and small sparks of heat escaped from their tiny mouths when they hissed. Marcus realized they were more than just creatures, they were intelligent. They were learning. As he watched, a memory came to him. When he was a boy, his father had told him stories about dragons and humans working together, about creatures that could think, feel, and even fight alongside men. Marcus had always thought it was fantasy. Now, he realized it had been truth, hidden in the stars, waiting for someone brave enough to find it. Hours passed, and Marcus began to think about what the dragons needed. They couldn't stay in the workshop forever. He would have to find a safe place, somewhere no one could harm them. But first, he had to understand them. He spoke softly to them, naming the first one Ember and the second one Leaf. The dragons responded to their names almost instantly, chirping and moving closer to him when he called. Then came the first test. A section of the workshop creaked loudly, a rusted beam falling from above. The dragons hissed and darted back, but Marcus acted quickly, stepping between them and the falling metal. He caught the beam just in time, holding it off with his strength. The dragons stared at him with wide eyes. Marcus laughed, a little out of breath. "See? Nothing can hurt us when we stick together." But Marcus could feel unease growing inside him. He wasn't alone. Something still lingered in the shadows of the workshop. He had felt it since the first day, an intelligence, watching, waiting. Perhaps the aliens who built this place had left more than machines. Perhaps they had left eyes, sensors, or worse. Marcus clenched his fists. No matter what came, he would not let anything happen to Ember and Leaf. As evening approached, he decided to settle down near the dragons. He built a small nest from scraps of cloth and metal for them to rest on. Ember curled up next to his chest, leaf-like wings folding gently around itself, while Leaf nestled against Marcus's leg. The warmth they gave off was comforting, almost like breathing fire without flame. Marcus could feel hope rising inside him. In that quiet moment, Marcus realized something profound. These dragons were not just creatures to protect, they were a chance to change everything. Humans had always faced danger, but rarely had they stood beside something as powerful and magical as this. The dragons could be allies, friends, even family. And humans like Marcus, who had courage, could make a difference in ways no one had imagined. The hum of the workshop grew louder as night fell. The dragons slept peacefully, but Marcus stayed awake, listening, watching, and thinking. He knew this was only the beginning. The real challenges, the true tests of courage, were yet to come. But for the first time in a long time, Marcus felt alive. He had discovered something extraordinary, and it had chosen him. Ember and Leaf were awake. So was he. And together, they would face whatever the universe had in store. Marcus woke to a strange sound echoing through the workshop. It wasn't the hiss of the dragons or the hum of the old machines. It was mechanical, a soft clicking, like tiny footsteps on metal. His heart sank. He had felt it before, a presence watching him, but now it was real. Something had activated. He looked at Ember and Leaf, still curled near his chest. They stirred at the noise, their small claws tapping the metal floor nervously. Marcus ran a hand over their backs. "Stay close. Nothing will hurt you," he whispered. The dragons chirped softly, as if understanding. The clicking grew louder, followed by a low hum that shook the floor. Marcus realized the workshop's alien security systems were coming back online. Machines that had been silent for centuries began to whir, lights blinking along the walls. Panels opened, revealing drones, sleek, black, and armed with unknown weapons. They moved silently, scanning the room, their sensors glowing red. Marcus's mind raced. He had faced danger before, space pirates, collapsing tunnels, radiation storms, but nothing like this. He had no weapons, only his wits and the dragons. He grabbed a long metal pipe from the floor and held it tightly. Ember hissed, and a tiny spark of heat shot from its mouth, flickering across the wall. Leaf crouched low, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. Marcus realized the dragons were ready to fight, too. The first drone spotted them. A beam of light swept over Marcus and the dragons, and an alarm sounded. The drone fired, but Marcus acted quickly. He shoved Ember and Leaf behind a stack of old machinery, using his body as a shield. The beam hit the metal instead, sparking and sizzling. Marcus ducked low, thinking fast. The drones moved in, methodical and relentless. "This is it," he muttered. "Time to fight smarter, not harder." He ran to a control panel, pressing buttons and pulling levers at random. Some lights flickered, and a nearby crane swung down, smashing into a drone. Ember chirped, moving closer, flames flickering from its tiny mouth. Leaf leapt onto a fallen pipe, breathing a small stream of heat at another drone. The two dragons worked together instinctively, their movements coordinated despite being so young. Marcus realized they weren't just animals, they were intelligent. They understood danger and were willing to fight with him. His heart swelled with pride and fear at the same time. This was human courage, working together with creatures thought extinct, against technology built to destroy them. Suddenly, a loud metallic voice echoed through the workshop, translated roughly by the alien symbols glowing on the walls. Unauthorized life forms detected. Containment required. Marcus froze. It wasn't just drones. Something bigger, something more intelligent, was controlling them. The drones advanced. Marcus grabbed a nearby crate, using it as a shield, while Ember and Leaf attacked in small bursts, keeping the drones off balance. Sparks flew, metal clanged, and the floor shook under the weight of moving machinery. Marcus shouted, giving directions to the dragons, though he wasn't sure they understood. Somehow, they did. Ember lunged at a drone, and Leaf pushed it backward with a small jet of heat. Marcus used the moment to pry open a panel, redirecting power to a nearby magnetic crane. A loud clang echoed as a drone was lifted and slammed into the wall. The workshop shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Marcus's mind raced. This was more than a simple salvage mission, this was survival. He thought of his past, of the brother he had lost to alien experiments. He could not let that happen again. Not to these dragons. Not to himself. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the chaos. Human footsteps. A voice shouted, "Marcus. Step away from the eggs." He turned to see another human, a salvager named Draven Cole, a man he had known only by reputation. Draven was smirking, holding a small device that could disable the dragons. "I've been looking for these for years. Hand them over." Marcus gritted his teeth. "Never," he said. "They belong to no one but themselves." Draven advanced, and one of the drones fired. Marcus rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a blast. Ember screeched, flames hitting the floor and sending sparks everywhere. Leaf leapt at Draven's device, trying to knock it away. Marcus grabbed a loose pipe and ran toward him, blocking his path. The two men faced off while the dragons moved between them, tiny but fierce. Marcus realized something important. Courage wasn't just about fighting, it was about protecting, thinking, and acting fast. He had to protect Ember and Leaf, and he had to outsmart Draven. Humans had survived against impossible odds before. Now it was time again. As the drones closed in and Draven pressed forward, Marcus took a deep breath. He could feel the dragons' trust in him, their small bodies trembling with energy. Together, they had a chance. Together, they could survive. The hum of alien machines filled the workshop, the glow from the dragon's scales reflecting off the metal walls. Marcus felt a spark of hope amidst the chaos. They were small, and the odds were against them, but Marcus knew one thing: humans fought back. Humans never gave up. And with Ember and Leaf at his side, they had a chance to turn the tide. He tightened his grip on the pipe, took a step forward, and shouted, "Stay behind me." And with that, the battle for the dragons, and the abandoned workshop, truly began. Marcus could hear the drones closing in, their red sensors sweeping the workshop like angry eyes. Sparks flew everywhere as machines groaned and twisted under the chaos. The floor shook with every step, and pieces of metal fell from the ceiling. Ember and Leaf were small but fierce, darting between Marcus's legs and the machines, their scales glowing faintly as if charged with energy. He knew they couldn't stay here. The workshop was no longer safe. Alien systems were too strong, and Draven Cole was still inside, ready to take the dragons by force. Marcus had to get them out, and fast. He scanned the room quickly. There was a back entrance he had noticed earlier, partially blocked by fallen machinery. It was narrow, but they could fit through if they were careful. Marcus glanced at Ember and Leaf. "Follow me," he whispered. "We're getting out of here." Ember chirped softly and moved closer, while Leaf's green eyes shone brightly, full of trust. Marcus grabbed a piece of scrap metal and jammed it against the floor panel to block a nearby drone. Sparks shot into the air, giving them a small window of time. He ran, ducks under swinging pipes and over twisted wires. Ember flew a short distance, using tiny bursts of heat to disable a drone sensor, while Leaf scrambled across the floor, using claws to pry open a control panel. Marcus could feel the dragons learning fast, understanding the dangers, working with him. Humans had faced worse odds before, and now it was a combination of human courage and dragon instinct that gave them a fighting chance. Draven shouted from behind. "You can't escape. Hand them over, Marcus." His device hummed, a pulse ready to disable the dragons. Marcus turned a quick glance, then focused forward. He could not stop. He had promised the dragons their safety. Promises like that were stronger than fear. The narrow passage loomed ahead, partially blocked by a fallen beam. Marcus grabbed it and lifted it just enough for them to squeeze through. Ember and Leaf moved first, their small bodies slipping through easily. Marcus followed, but the beam shifted and started to fall. He shoved against it with all his strength, feeling the metal bite into his palms, until it settled. They were through, but the drones were still behind them, relentless. Marcus glanced around. The passage led to an old maintenance elevator. He pressed the button, but nothing happened. The power was failing. He cursed under his breath, then remembered the emergency manual override he had seen during his first inspection. Pulling a small lever, the elevator shuddered to life, rusty and slow, but working. He helped Ember and Leaf climb inside, then pushed himself in. The elevator creaked upward. Sparks flew from exposed wires, and Marcus could hear the drones pounding on the metal doors below. "Hold on," he whispered. The dragons pressed close to him, their small bodies radiating warmth. He felt a strange courage rise in him. Humans had faced worse, and he had survived. He could survive this too. Suddenly, the elevator jolted violently. One of the drones had fired, and a panel above them collapsed. Ember screeched, flames shooting from its tiny mouth, hitting the falling debris. Leaf leapt, claws extended, helping to push the debris away from Marcus. Together, they worked as a team. Humans and dragons, small but united against impossible odds. As they reached the top, Marcus saw the main workshop entrance in sight. The doors were closing automatically, triggered by alien systems. He grabbed a loose chain from the elevator and swung himself out, pulling Ember and Leaf with him. Sparks flew from the sensors above, and a small explosion rocked the floor behind them. The drones were still trying, but Marcus knew they had bought just enough time. Outside, the alien sun was setting, casting long shadows over the rocky plateau. Marcus took a deep breath. He could see the dragons blinking up at him, their eyes wide but trusting. He knelt and let them crawl onto his shoulders, feeling their tiny claws cling gently to his jacket. "We're not safe yet," he said, voice low but firm. "But we're getting there." He led them down a narrow cliffside path he had spotted earlier. The dragons moved carefully, their small bodies glowing faintly in the dim light. Marcus could feel his heart pounding, but the fear was different now. It was sharp, yes, but it was mixed with hope and determination. They had survived the first attack. They would survive again. Humans always found a way. As they reached a hidden cave at the base of the cliff, Marcus paused. The cave was small but safe, shielded by rock and overgrowth. He set Ember and Leaf down. They chirped softly, exploring their new temporary home. Marcus ran a hand over their backs, feeling the warmth radiating from them. "We'll stay here for now," he said. "We need a plan, and we need to be ready." He looked back toward the workshop. Smoke rose from the wreckage, the hum of alien machines still faint in the distance. Draven Cole was out there somewhere, and other dangers could be coming. But Marcus did not flinch. He had Ember and Leaf. He had courage. And he had the determination to protect life that mattered. Sitting in the cave, Marcus watched the dragons curl up together. They were small, vulnerable, but full of potential. He knew the real challenges were still ahead, but for now, they were safe. Humans had survived worse. And with courage, intelligence, and a little luck, they would survive this too. As night fell over Orinthia, Marcus whispered, "Tomorrow, we fight smarter. Tomorrow, we survive. Together." Ember chirped softly in agreement, Leaf nudged his hand, and Marcus felt a spark of hope. The adventure was far from over, but for the first time, he knew they had a real chance. The stars above were bright, and for the first time in days, Marcus smiled. Humans fought. Humans protected. And humans, sometimes, could make the impossible real. The cave was quiet, but Marcus knew it would not stay that way for long. The glow from Ember and Leaf's scales lit the walls faintly, casting shadows that danced like silent watchers. Outside, the wind howled across the rocky plateau, carrying the faint hum of alien machines still searching. Marcus had a sinking feeling that whatever had built this workshop, and whatever had left the dragons, was far from finished. He crouched beside the dragons, running a hand along Ember's back. "You're safe, for now," he whispered. Ember chirped softly, leaning into him, while Leaf nudged his hand with its small snout. Marcus took a deep breath. This was no ordinary fight. These dragons were more than creatures, they were a link to something powerful and unknown. And humans had a chance to protect them. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Marcus tensed. From the darkness beyond the cave, a low, mechanical rumble grew louder. A massive alien probe emerged from the shadows, its sensors glowing red. It was taller than a human, sleek and menacing, with multiple arms equipped with weapons. Marcus's heart pounded, but he did not flinch. He had faced impossible odds before. He had survived storms, pirates, and collapsing buildings. This was different, but humans adapted. Humans survived. And Marcus would not let these dragons fall. The probe scanned the cave, detecting the dragons immediately. Its mechanical voice echoed. "Dragons unauthorized. Containment required." Its arms moved with precision, preparing to strike. Marcus backed toward the dragons instinctively. Ember hissed, flames flickering from its tiny mouth. Leaf crouched low, wings spread slightly, ready to leap. Marcus knew brute force alone would not work. He had to use his mind. The probe was strong, but it had patterns, weaknesses. He studied its movements, noting the timing of its strikes. "We can do this," he whispered to the dragons. Together. The first strike came. The probe swung one of its metal arms, aiming directly at Ember. Marcus dove forward, grabbing a rock to throw. Ember leapt into the air, small wings flaring, while Leaf shot a precise jet of heat at the probe's sensor. Sparks flew, and the probe staggered slightly. Marcus's heart leapt. They could fight it. He ran forward, ducking under another sweeping arm, and pressed his hand against the cave wall. Panels of rock shifted, revealing jagged edges. Marcus grabbed a large stone slab and pushed it toward the probe. Ember and Leaf worked instinctively, striking together to keep its attention. The probe recoiled, momentarily trapped between Marcus's trap and the dragon's attack. Then came the moment Marcus had been waiting for. He climbed a ledge, high above the probe, and shouted, "Now!" Ember and Leaf responded instantly. Flames and heat jets erupted, hitting the probe's sensors and wiring. Sparks flew in every direction, and the probe faltered, thrashing wildly. Marcus leapt down, rolling to avoid a falling metal arm. The probe emitted a loud screech, its systems failing. Marcus pressed forward, feeling adrenaline surge through him. "We fight, we survive, we protect," he yelled. Ember leapt onto the probe's back, claws gripping tight, while Leaf struck its core with a precise burst of fire. The probe shuddered, sparks flying, then toppled over, crashing to the cave floor. Silence followed. Marcus's chest heaved, sweat running down his face. Ember chirped softly, Leaf nudged him, and for a moment, everything felt calm. They had survived. Humans had survived. But Marcus knew this was only the beginning. He stepped back, breathing heavily. Outside the cave, the stars shone brilliantly, cold and distant. Marcus looked at the dragons, their small bodies glowing faintly. He realized something extraordinary: they were not just creatures. They were a chance to change the balance of power, a bridge between humans and beings long thought lost. He thought of the humans who had doubted him, of Draven Cole, and the alien civilizations that had built this place. And he smiled. Humans had always fought against impossible odds. Humans had always survived. And humans, courageous, clever, determined, could protect life that mattered. Ember chirped, stepping closer to Marcus, and Leaf nuzzled his hand. He knelt down, wrapping them in a gentle embrace. "We did it," he whispered. "You're safe, and we're just getting started." The dragons chirped in response, their small voices soft but full of trust. Marcus looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, other aliens might still be searching. Other dangers might come. But he was ready. He had courage, intelligence, and the dragons at his side. Together, they could survive anything. Humans had always risen to the challenge. As he settled down beside Ember and Leaf, Marcus felt a quiet determination settle over him. They would find a safe place, a sanctuary where dragons could grow and humans could protect them. The adventure was far from over, but one thing was certain: human courage, paired with heart and determination, could overcome even the most impossible challenges. He looked at the dragons, glowing softly in the darkness of the cave. "We'll face whatever comes," he whispered. "And we'll survive. Together." Ember chirped again, Leaf nudged his hand, and Marcus knew that the bond they had formed was stronger than fear, stronger than danger. The stars twinkled above Orinthia, endless and bright, and Marcus smiled. Humans fought. Humans protected. Humans survived. And with Ember and Leaf at his side, Marcus knew that even in the darkest corners of the universe, hope could shine. Tonight, they had survived. Tomorrow, they would rise. And the world, or worlds, would never be the same.